Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As I was perusing through my new affiliate information with Amazon, I know that Amazon's not exactly the best corporate entity out there, but a lot of people shop on Amazon, and I am trying to get some support for the amount of effort that I put into my channel. Since I don't have a whole lot of support, I figured most people shop on Amazon, and you can support my channel by clicking on the link in the description box to Amazon and just go there and make some purchases. You just buy things, and some of the percentage will go to my channel. So that's how that works. There's no cost to you, no additional cost. You just go shop by clicking on my link, and you help me in doing so. But I was clicking around in Amazon, and something triggered me. This is what my spirit does. It triggered me to go and look for this Trump coin again, because many people don't know about this Balfour agreement that Trump declared in 2017. Now, I don't know that much about it, but I did hear about the Rothschilds and how they took over land in Palestine to establish their Isis, Ra, El, which is Israel. It's Isis, Ra, and El, which is the three names of the sun gods. And again, Jordan Maxwell is a plethora of knowledge on all of these things, and you have to listen to hours and hours and hours to start really getting a grasp on how this world is run and who's the players of the game. Now, so the Israelis had this coin minted in honor of Trump, declaring and stating that Israel is an official nation, with Jerusalem as its main city. I mean, he made this statement that Jerusalem is absolutely part of Israel, and he made this declaration. So they had a coin minted to commemorate this event. Now, I found some information regarding that whole ordeal. And as you can see, the Trump Declaration of 1917 to 2017. And then it's written in what's called Hebrew, which isn't actually a language. It's actually a derogatory term. I don't know much about that. If I come across information, I will announce it. But that's another thing that Jordan Maxwell claimed, is that Hebrew is actually not a language, it's a derogatory term, and it is not nice. So I want to read this though. So I found this on MiddleEastMonitor.com, and this is about the Balfour Agreement, okay, between the Balfour Declaration and Trump's declaration. And this made a lot of people angry. This was November the 8th, 2017, this Middle East Monitor, they call it memo. Free Palestine from racist occupation. And of course, this is the truth. They took over, and some people know their real history. But guess what? Most people don't, and they've been sold lies. So we need to start uncovering these things. November the 2nd, 1917 was an ill-omened day in the history of the Arab and Muslim nation. It is the day that Arthur James Balfour sent a letter to Lord Lionel Walter Rothschild, a leader of the world Zionist movement, in which he stated the British government's support for the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine. This promise was made by someone who did not have the right to make it. At the time, the Jewish population in Palestine was no more than 50,000, around 5% of the total population in the country. The ill-fated declaration disregarded the hundreds of thousands of Palestine's indigenous people and only mentioned their civil and religious rights. The Palestinians' political, economic, and administrative rights were ignored by Balfour altogether. They basically just gave land to the Rothschilds to establish a regime, because they were looking, and Jordan Maxwell says that they went to 7 different locations, even in Texas, and they finally landed in Palestine because it was easy to just push these farmers out of the way, because they had no military might or any way to protect themselves. This cursed declaration brought a minority of Jews from the diaspora together. It was followed by the immigration of Jews from all over the world into a melting pot of over 70 nationalities. This was the first step in the establishment of an entity to encompass the Jewish people. The Balfour Declaration was used by the World Zionist movement as the legal basis for its demands for the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine and the achievement of the Jewish dream. The movement got what it wanted, and its dream was fulfilled with the establishment of Israel, Isis Ra-El, on Palestinian land on May 15th, 1948. There is no ancient Israel. No ancient Israel. This entity was granted UN membership after pressure by the global superpowers, making Israel the first state in the history of the international political system to be established on stolen land after first displacing its indigenous people, and to receive international support and unprecedented backing from the most powerful country in the world, the United States of America. It was not the United States of America, it was the United States Corporation. So it is not America. This allowed Israel to be arrogant and strut around, waging wars and expanding, swallowing ever more Palestinian and Arab land, all the while mercilessly and inhumanely torturing the Palestinian people who had been able to stay in their land in 1948. Why should Britain apologize for the Balfour Declaration? I will not go too far into the history nor reasons that led Britain to establish this Zionist entity and the apparently unlimited Western support that it enjoys. See, that they've been taking over the world because they got into 3 positions of power in the world, which was the Vatican, number one, which is it bred the Rothschilds families. You know, that's where they sort of set up camp, is at the Vatican, with all the religious dogma that is all around. And dog is God, spelled backwards. Remember this, very important. They created all of this junk that we now adhere to as belief systems. So then they used the royal crown, which had all the wealth, and then they established the military might of the United States. So it made a trifecta to go around bullying all these other nations and overthrowing governments. And these are all the Black magicians who snuck into positions of power. But now it's time to take the power back by learning the true history. Okay, the humanitarian and religious claims that have been utilized to justify the creation of Israel are both false and misleading in order to whitewash what remains a Western imperialist project. Israel was planted in the region to promote Western colonial interests and was known at the time as the West's guard dog. Last week, the chief guard dog, Benjamin Netanyahu, celebrated the centenary of the Balfour Declaration with British Prime Minister Theresa May, who boasts proudly of her country's contribution to the establishment of Israel. Of course, she ignored Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas's request for an apology to the Palestinian people for stealing their land. It is ironic, though, that this request was made by an individual who has concealed so much of Palestine in his disgraceful negotiations with the enemy state. The guard dog preceded the Balfour centenary with the bombing of the Palestinian resistance in a Gaza tunnel, killing 8 mujahideen. It was as if he was trying to provoke the resistance groups in order to see their reaction and present them with a difficult test on this painful anniversary that stirred pain and anger within Palestinian hearts. It revived the dream of liberation from Israel's occupation that has never left the mind of Hamas for a moment since its establishment 30 years ago. Britain must atone for the Balfour Declaration and 100 years of suffering. However, the movement is now bound to an agreement called Palestinian Reconciliation, in which it has given up power in Gaza and handed over the border crossings to President Abbas and his cronies, whose term of office should have ended in 2009. Like his friend Netanyahu, Abbas chose the anniversary of the shameful Balfour Declaration to celebrate the Hamas move like a victorious conqueror who had recovered control of the crossings from an occupying invader. His portrait, alongside Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's, was on display during the celebration. It was as if they were taking back control from an enemy force, not from fellow Palestinians who entered into a national reconciliation deal based on partnership. This shocked those within the ranks of Hamas, although its officials stayed silent, with the exception of Dr. Moza Abu Marzouk, who tweeted, "The manner in which the Rafah crossing was handed over was inappropriate and we did not agree upon it. Any agreement lacking justice and fairness and which does not respect what was agreed upon by both parties will not succeed." Abu Marzouk's full statement was revealing. "Even if I knew nothing about Gaza, I would know that what happened has nothing to do with unity, as unity must be shared between two parties. What actually happened was an exchange based on Israel's conditions for the crossings, i.e., crossings without Hamas." In a third tweet, the Hamas official complained that Fatah is now requiring Hamas to recognize Israel as a condition for its participation in the government, and this violates the agreement. This indicates the truth behind this alleged reconciliation, which has been exposed as an agreement formulated by the Israeli intelligence agencies to serve Israel's interests and not the interests of Palestinian national unity, as the PA claims. The PA and Israel seek to strip Hamas of all its sources of power. They want to disarm Hamas and place it under the control of the PA, which is something that Abbas has stated on numerous occasions. This aligns with Israel's desires, as stated by Netanyahu, to merge Hamas into Oslo-created authority by means of the settlement imposed by Washington and adopted by several Arab parties to normalize relations with Israel as part of Donald Trump's deal of the century. You see the two wings of the bird, the eagle of the United States, that has two wings, a left wing and a right wing, and they're all the same bird, right? So we have to be careful with who these players are. Now, we know there's like double agents everywhere, basically. Is Trump a double agent? I have no idea, but he's friends with Putin. So I don't know. Maybe they went ahead along with this narrative. That's something they could have done. I mean, I believe in all possibilities, people, and I know that there's something shifting in the world and that the power shift is happening right under our noses, and we're not really aware of a lot of things. And that Putin is traitor to the New World Order. I believe that they've infiltrated, like good factions have also infiltrated governments. They've probably played the part of bad guys to try to get in there. I don't know. I'm not at that level. But I suspect that there's something that we do not comprehend about all of the events that are happening all around us. I say, think about this. So you probably don't know about the Codex Alimentarius that was coming into play back in 2010, I believe. I had heard about it, and they were going to eliminate all of the natural supplements. They were going to outlaw them. That meant herbs and supplements and vitamins and all of that stuff. They were going to outlaw all of the things that were beneficial for the body, and that never happened. So then last year, for example, we had a coin shortage. Remember that when they started saying, oh, there's a coin shortage, you got to, use your credit card and all this. Well, isn't it interesting that that sort of has gone away? Because that was their phase out of our currency that we're using right now, and the fiat currency is going to go away. But what they call the white hats, I don't call them white hats, the good faction of beings, whoever, human or otherwise, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation around. They're assisting with maintaining the timeline because the timelines have been hijacked for a long time, and there's been a lot of lies and deception, and people have been buying into it because we were sold on this whole slave system that they incorporated into our world. And a long time ago, we didn't have this slave system. So we got to make changes, big changes. So anyway, this is all about that event that happened. Herein lies the dilemma that Hamas has put itself in by means of this suspicious agreement. It is full of traps which are known to everyone. I do not think that they were invisible to Hamas unless Yahya Sinwar The movement's leader in Gaza knows of a way out of the deal. He has made concessions to Fatah through which it had gained more than it had demanded, thus tempting it to impose conditions and be inflexible in its positions. I think it will be difficult for Hamas to escape from this dilemma. It will either have to continue with its resistance to Israel's military occupation or become a chapter in the history of Palestinian resistance, which since the 1920s has carried the struggle to liberate Palestine from the river to the sea. While the Balfour Declaration promised the Jews a national home in Palestine in 1917, the Trump Declaration, a century later, gave Israel normalization with all of the Arab countries and has achieved Israel's biggest dream of expanding from the Nile to the Euphrates by means of the deal of the century. The Palestinian people are the main losers on both occasions and everything in between. So that's that. I mean, who is this Donald Trump? You know, there's more information, and I'm not a basher. I don't support either party. I don't support any political party, actually. I think it's all a show and it's a game, and you know, there's others that are pulling the strings, and these are just puppets and actors. But I came across more information about Trump, and you guys can actually go into my videos, my folders, and look at different subjects that I have there. Now I have one that's called Trump Strangeness, because Donald Trump's Uncle John, he was called in to investigate Nikola Tesla's papers and documents and research when he died in his hotel room. And of course, they squandered all that knowledge about Tesla working on all of these time travel experiments and other frequency experiments. The time travel one was the big one. So they scrambled over as soon as they learned that he had died. They scrambled over, they grabbed all his stuff and they left. I've read these little blips and stories of things. So John Trump got all that documentation, and you know, John Trump is Donald Trump's uncle. And then there's some things with the Ingersoll Lockwood book that infer or imply that Trump has something to do with connections underground and also being the last president. Now that book was written like in 1892, but there's 3 different books, and it's called Little Baron Trump's Underground Journey. And he has a little dog named Bulger. I have the book. Yeah, so this is the book, Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. And there's the Ingersoll Lockwood collection. It has 3 books in it. The other one is called The Last President. Okay, so this is The Last President by Ingersoll Lockwood. Mine has the other cover, basically. It has the little Baron Trump cover. So, and it's the collection. It's the trifecta collection of books by this guy. I had come across an article, and I don't know if it's true, but they showed 2 different pictures of this guy. They showed him at age like 37 or so, and then they showed another photo where he was in his late 60s or early 70s, and he didn't look like he aged one day. I can't find that image. I'm sure, you know, maybe some other people can. But there's some strange things involving Trump. And even all of the Simpsons episodes where they have the image of Trump placing his hands on an illuminated globe with one of the Arab leaders, which is kind of odd. And then Trump coming down the escalator after he wins the election. Occultists with technology, high technology to peer into the future and the past. I believe that's what we've been dealing with. I don't think it's just predictive programming. I think they've been able to actually see these things in the future. Okay, so here's the Simpsons. They predicted that Trump would be president. And you see in the background on the Simpsons cartoon on the left, paid. He was paid. In 2000, the Simpsons predicted this. And then here we are with 2015 elections, and Trump is at the podium being the president. You think this stuff is scripted somehow? Looks a little bit. They know stuff that we don't. Okay, here's the other one. This is the other prediction. Now, this was in the background of one of the scenes, and you can see it on a back wall inside a hallway inside their house or office, or so. I can't remember what the scene is, because I stopped watching The Simpsons long ago, because I was like, yeah, you know, they're just, again, messing with the minds of the masses. So, as you can see, predictabilities, right? How do they know this stuff? And these are, again, 2 different years. Well, all right. So I'm just going to put this link in the description box. You guys can go over this article and go have a look at all these things. Who is Donald Trump? That's the question, on our side or their side? Or do they have, again, deep fakes or clones, or you hear all kinds of tales. That's why I just remain neutral to all of the information that comes my way, because there's a greater game afoot that we are not privy to, because we are just down here trying to survive. We're in the survival mode of things, trying to help each other, seeking for truth always. All right, keep up the good work, guys. Let me know what your comments are. Subscribe, like, and share, and also consider purchasing Amazon products through my link. It would really help me out. See you on the next one.